Hello everyone, welcome to Ignition 633 Ministries. My name is Blessed Iverin, and in today's video, we'll be talking about the farming practices in Benue State. It is the raining season and most farmers are back to the farm trying to prepare their lands so that they will carry out planting and expect a bountiful harvest at the end of the day. Benue State is known as the food basket of the nation, and God has blessed the land and making it fertile and very suitable for most economic crops to be planted on. Crops like yams, beans, rice, cassava, sweet potato, and the rest of them. Farmers can live on their produce from one planting season to the other, and their produce can sustain their family until the next planting season. The state is blessed, but in the last few years, we have experienced a very minimal harvest because of shortage in rainfall. Last year, many farmers suffered major losses because they invest heavily in their farms, and then at the end of the day they had little returns, little harvest because of the small rain that we experienced last year. And one could even count how many times it rained in this part of the country, which is not very suitable for farming because the soil needs a lot of water for the seeds to produce very well. But without rain, we will get little or no harvest at all, and that was what we experienced last year.
I am by name Mr. Solomon Otwaf, the principal at Ignition 633. I want to talk about farming process in Benue since we are about to get into farming season. The rain has just commenced, and yesterday we have a heavy downpour that some persons are already into the farm process. What to do is now it's time to clearing of sites. You clear your sites, most especially if there are places that there is forest. You need to cut down the trees, do the stumping, then you prepare your site for the particular crop you want to plant. And in planting, like the rain has just started, it's not every crop that you can plant at this time. There's particular ones that are good for early planting season. Like now, people are planting egusi, which most persons know it as melon. And then when you plant melon, now the first rain or second rain is the best for it because it's a kind of plant that does not like too much rainfall, too much water. So, but the second or the third and fourth rain, people will begin to plant things like maize, things like yam, things like cassava, because those ones are basically needs water, enough water in the soil for it to be able to germinate. And in planting these crops, it has to do some processes, like I talk about clearing. If it is planting of yams, you have to make heaps. If it's planting of cassava, you have to make ridges, or cassava can also be planted on ridges and then also on heaps. But like rice farm, you have to wait. You have to wait, especially in May. The rain must be much because rice actually needs a place that's somehow flooded always with water. Because if there's not enough water, it's not going to produce well for you. And then in Benue, basically people actually depends on farming as their source of survival, source of income, and source of so many things. In fact, 85% of Benue indigents depend on farming to survive. However, as we're talking about this, there are difficulties that are always involved, people always encountered in doing this farming process. So many people cannot farm because of some basic challenges, some because of age, some because of the strength, some because of the lack of land, and then some because of the time. Because some persons, there are certain things they do that take a lot of their times that they don't have time to go to farm again. And like last year, some persons face a lot of challenges because of the shortage of rain. Myself that I'm talking here, that have been into farming for the past 15 years, last year was a terrible year for me because the day I planted my rice, it took another full 1 month for rains to drop on it. That means there was a whole delay in 1 month. The rice that was supposed to be ready for harvest in the month of November was ready for harvest in December. So that even shorts the produce. It was not much, could not produce much because the germination process was very poor because there was shortage of rain. And then some persons, because they don't even have land, and then you have to go as far distance to go and rent land, and some places where they give you, you don't even know the nature of the place, whether the water volume or the floods comes there, you don't know. In Benue, there are so many places that sometimes you look at the place during dry season that it looks like a dry place, but when it's rainy season, especially that August, September, the volume of water becomes so high that what you produce now has to live on 50-50 as whether it can sustain or it will not. And basically, farming activities in Benue has actually improved our lives because so many persons have become a source of income, then create job opportunities for them. And one of the basic advantages of farming in Benue is that the food produced are of good quality. Sometimes you don't even need fertilizer to apply on those things. You just plant it, then it germinates of its own and it produces. And that helps us to keep our lives sustaining ourselves, the lives of our families, and that of our friends. If you come to Benue State, their yam is very sweet, the corn is very sweet, the rice is like a very special variety that does not need anything to makes it improve. Thank you very much.
Less rain is not the only challenge that farmers encounter in this part of the country. We also have some challenges that farmers face that makes their crops yield very little. And we have one of our staff at Ignition 633 who will shed more light to this issue.
As a farmer, due to the modern way, you can't do without chemicals, and the chemicals are very, very expensive in the market. And in rice farming, they have process. The very first process is by weeding. The weeding alone involves chemicals, different chemicals, spend the ones you want. You buy, you spray. After farming, you also need chemical to buy. For example, there is a chemical called quick action. It's a 1 liter. Now it goes for 6,000, 5,005, depends where you can get it. And sometimes you are needing more than 3-4 bottles. And then when you farm the rice, after 14 days, you need to spread the chemical. And the chemicals in spraying those rice are also expensive. You say a chemical goes for 9,000, 10,000 per bottle. That's just for 1 liter. And then it becomes a challenge for a farmer who want to farm in large quantity, because you need more chemicals. You need to have the spreading machine so that you follow up. After that, also pests used to disturb. So you need to buy chemical for protecting of the crop that you are farming.
We understand the risk involved in farming and the urgent need for safer farming options. So the ministry stepped in and gave access to some of our staff to cultivate their crops on some open lands belonging to the ministry. We have the Vice President of Ignition 633 to tell us more about how the ministry stepped in to render assistance to some of our staff.
So, in Makodi today, where Ignition 633 Nigeria is domiciled, we experienced the second rain of the season, and this marks possibly the beginning of the rainy season. Now, Benue State being the food basket of the nation, farming, agriculture generally is one of the trade that is very rampant, and almost everybody loves farming, including staff of Ignition 633 Nigeria. And as a ministry, we support farming, we support agriculture, and in view of that, we constantly, the ministry encourages staff to farm, to produce food so they will be able to feed themselves and possibly earn more money. But then with the rising cases of Fulani herdsmen attacks, it's been difficult to go to the neighboring villages to get to rent lands. So on our part as a ministry, Ignition 633 Nigeria, we have constantly supported staff, and one of the things that we did last year and we intend to do this year is that most of our land that is lying fallow, that is not being constructed upon yet, we shared it among staff who were able to produce some basic crops that are consumed by the people. Some were able to do it in large quantities that they were able to sell. Some kept it for their various foods. For this season too, we intend to do the same thing. And we are even looking to see how the kitchen can own a vegetable garden where most of the purchases of vegetables done in the market will actually be done. Instead of purchasing, we will just have them harvested from our garden, and then we will have it, cooked in the kitchen for consumption of the residents. So yes, Ignition 633 supports agriculture, supports farming, and encourages staff to go into agriculture. Thank you.
My name is William Msute Kashio. I'm a staff of Ignition 633. I thank God so much for working in this ministry because they have helped me in various ways. One, I work here as a maintenance officer. Thereof, I still farm here on Ignition piece of land that are outside. It enables us to get food at the end of the season. Coming into the ministry, considering the facts and the challenge we're having in our villages, we can no longer go there to farm. So the ministry have decided to give us this piece of land for us to cultivate on. It helps us a lot because at the end of the day, we have a little thing that we can take to our family and they will feed on. So I thank the ministry so much for their help, for giving us the land to farm on. I so much appreciate them for their effort and everything they have put through in touching lives and what they are doing. I pray that may the good Lord continue to bless and elevate them higher and higher. Thank you so much.
In the midst of these challenges, we would never fail to see reasons to thank God for. We thank Him for the gifts of land, the wisdom to cultivate on it, and the strength that He continuously gives to farmers to carry out farming activities on their farmland. We are grateful to God for the harvest that He has given us despite the challenges that we face each time the planting season comes, and for the opportunity that He has given to this ministry to continue to impact people's lives in various ways. As we look forward, we pray for abundant rain, we pray for peace across farmlands and protections of farmers, and even divine provision of all who labor in agriculture. May God raise more hands to till the land and bless every effort with fruitfulness. Thank you very much for watching this video. We hope to see you in the next one.